Hello and welcome to the Winging It Travel podcast with me, James Hammond. Personally, I have been to 50 countries. I've met so many people on my travels that I want to bring on this podcast and get their story on record. I have plenty of tips and stories to share with you as well. Are you a backpacker, or a traveller, or gap year student, or simply someone who loves to travel? Then this is the podcast for you. Throughout the weeks and months, you'll get many guests and solo episodes where I try to cover all range of subjects within travel. This is a casual and informative travel podcast to inspire you to travel in the future. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Thanks for listening and supporting this, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, James. Hey, just a quick one. I just want to say there are many ways to support this podcast. You can buy me a coffee and help support the podcast with $5, or you can go to my merch store with the affiliate link with TeePublic, where there's plenty of merch available to buy, such as t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, and also some children's clothing. Thirdly, which is free, you can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, or Good Pods. Also, you can find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Simply just search for Winging It Travel Podcast, and you'll find me displaying all my social media content for travelling, podcasts, and other stuff. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to this latest instalment of the Greece series on the Winging It Travel podcast. I'm going to wrap up this series by telling you of my trip to Ancient Corinth, Nafplion, and finally Athens before flying home to London. So following from the last episode, relief in the morning when I woke up and I made my way to the ferry, the port area in Kassos, about 7:30am, and I saw a few guys hanging around the tourist office that I got my ticket printed off at, and I asked them, is it on? They went, yes, it's on. Relief. So I got on the ferry, and there's about 6 of us on there, and I think what helped me was that one of the people on there was a kid who was going to school. So she had to get to school on that Monday, and we made our way across the water to Carpathos, which was a bit of a choppy journey for an hour and a quarter, I think, maybe an hour and a half in the end. Anyway, made it there, relief. I'm in Carpathos, just need to get to the airport and get to Athens. First of all, went for brekkie at Lambrinos and said goodbye to the locals. A nice Greek omelette, an espresso and an orange juice later. I was happy. Then I got a taxi with my mate George on Carpathos to the airport, which is €25, and a flight to Athens, which took an hour. Straight to my car rental place, which is Record Go, which I booked through my affiliate link with Discovery Cars, which you can access in the show notes below. And they are based in Karopi, which is one stop further from when you start Athens on the metro. So you start Athens, next stop Karopi. It's a town there, and they have a shuttle at the airport. So I got to the airport, met the guy at the shuttle, he drove me to their base, and they gave me a Fiat 500. I know beggars can't be choosers, but it was hybrid, so at least that was something on the petrol. And my mission was to drive to Ancient Corinth, which was about an hour journey along the main road. It's actually just one road from there all the way. So I did that, took an hour and a bit, and I went through 3 tolls. And I think I probably forked out around €9 for that. So do bear that in mind on Greek roads. You cannot avoid the toll. I'm going to give you one bit of advice. They don't describe each lane in any language. Head for the one that's coloured blue. You'll see like this kind of design of a person tapping, if you like. And that just to indicate that you can pay cash, card or whatever. One time I went in a line which was the E line, the E-gate line, and that's basically number plates that are registered online, and they pay probably just online through their card, and the gate didn't open for me, and I had to reverse back, and it's like 3 or 4 cars behind me. So imagine that, down one lane, they were waiting for me to go, it didn't open. I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do? I just had to reverse back out. So bit of a mission there, but got there in the end. Got to Ancient Corinth, and my plan for that day was, after a long journey of boat, flight, driving, I was going to check into my hotel called the Pegasus Rooms. I got an upgrade because it's the low season and they have an alternative accommodation down the road. Gave me a room at the hotel, came with breakfast. I booked that with breakfast, and I kind of just walked around the square in Ancient Corinth, which is really nice. Got some like local restaurants there, and it's right next to the ancient Apollo grounds, the ancient archaeological site of Corinth. I was pretty tired that day, so I went to a local restaurant called the Groom's Tavern, and I met the waitress there called Evie, and I also spoke to the owner who was doing the cooking behind, and they were great, spoke English, showed me some of the menu. I had a fantastic Americano there, that's brilliant, and some fried veg for a late lunch. I actually went back in the evening to go and try some of the gyros that they have, and that was huge. I'm talking like a huge plate of chicken gyros, chips, yogurt, pita bread, salad. I couldn't finish it, it was too much, but classic Greek food. And then after much tiredness, I got to sleep in a very comfortable bed in Pegasus Rooms. What a room that is, and what an accommodation. If I can give you one recommendation in Ancient Corinth, go and stay at the Pegasus Rooms. Fantastic. The guy there was called George, spoke really good English, gave me some good advice, and also gave me upgrades, so cheers George. Next day, which was a Tuesday, I popped upstairs for breakfast, huge breakfast. It's ridiculous. They give you fruit, eggs, sweet cakes, bread, coffee, orange juice, Greek yogurt, the whole lot. I actually made my way to the ancient archaeological grounds, next door, and they're closed. Closed on a Tuesday. No one actually told me this. I didn't even check Google, didn't think to. But just a bit of advice, if you're going to go to Ancient Corinth and check out the grounds, they don't open on Tuesday, period. So plan B was I got in the car and I drove up to Acrocorinth, which is on top of the hill. It overlooks the whole area. And I drove to the parking lot and went into the site, which is free, unbelievable. And you can walk along the grounds, continue right up to the top of the highest point. And I did that on a very, very windy day. And at the top is sensational views of Nafplion and the surrounding areas. If it wasn't so windy, I would have stayed up there way longer. A bit of a mission to get up there, a lot of walking, but the wind was just a little bit too much. But I stayed up there as long as I could. The views of the coast and the modern Corinth town was sensational. You can look as far as the eye could see, 360 degrees each way. Sensational views. It's a must do. If you haven't got a car, I would probably guess that you would walk up there, which could take about an hour. You can walk up there. Some people are doing that. The hotel actually recommended a taxi. It's definitely an option as well, but try and get in a car or take a nice little hike up there. But when you get a hike up there, you have to go into the grounds and hike even more up. So just bear that in mind. After that, a lot of walking, smashing my 12,000 steps. So I went to a local cafe called Pinacote Cafe, which serves pastries right next to Pegasus Rooms, where the road is. And I had an unbelievably great but quite strong tasting coffee. And I bought some of their chocolates that she makes. She owns the cafe. She does all the bakery stuff in there. And I had one was biscuit and one was just chocolate with a bit of cream in the middle. Unbelievable. So cheap as well. And then I was pretty knackered, kind of late evening. So I went to the local Groom's Tavern for lunch of souvlaki after my coffee. And then in the evening I went to try a new restaurant called Agli, which had some awesome shrimp and fries. But I was super done in at the end of the day. Got some sleep in. Next morning was Ancient Corinth Day, so I went in after my breakfast, went into the ancient site and saw the ancient site of Apollo, the Temple of Apollo. Quite well known. Apollo is quite well known by all people with Greek mythology, and I think it was an absolute bargain at €4 to go and walk around this amazing historic area. I could spend hours there. I spent roughly about 2 hours and walk around the grounds. They've got the little plaques to describe what the area is. It's definitely worth doing. And it's a crisp, clear, mild / sunny day. And I quickly whipped around there, saw the museum, and then had to check out of Pegasus. But I would highly recommend the archaeological site of Apollo. Got some great photos from that. I'm real super pleased with that. Just don't open on Tuesdays. Just bear that in mind. Huge car park there as well. So if you're driving from maybe Corinth, the modern town, if you get there early, they open at 8:30. You can park your car up right close to it. And if you can't do that, you can just park near the old town and walk through the square where I was staying in Pegasus Rooms. Checked out. Of course, I went to Groom's to go and see my mates. Had a few coffees there to say goodbye. Had some stickers out. And made my way for an hour drive to Nafplion, which is the old historical capital city of Greece. Very historic. I want to go and see that. And another bit of advice here. Go on a non-toll road. It takes an extra 15 minutes, but you don't pay any toll fees. Amazing drive, no one on the road. Got the music up loud in the car. Started singing on some banging tunes. Arrived and absolutely loved Nafplion instantly. Parked the car, checked in the hotel, got straight out and walking the streets of the old town. You have to go to the old town. You can walk along the boardwalk, along the coast. You can walk around the windy streets. in and amongst the town, and you can also walk up to the castle. I had lunch at Trendy, and more on that on my coffee podcast, so check that out in a few weeks. I went for the classic Kayana scrambled egg meal, absolutely brilliant, and that came with like olives, cheese, bread, orange juice, coffee, more bread. It was just a ridiculous amount of food for €11. Highly recommend it. After that, I walked around the town a bit more, took loads of photos. Great day by the sea, some amazing views along the coast, and then I made my way up to the castle for sunset. It's called the Acrocorinth Castle, I think I pronounced that right. You can walk up there, it takes 20 minutes, not a bad walk, and when you get to the top there, sensational views of the town and the local area, 360 degrees, and I went out to a little lookout point to the sea and watched the sunset go down. I've got a video of the sunset, clear day, can't wait to look back at that again, speed it up and put it on video. And to finish the day off, I went to the only Chinese restaurant in town and needed a break from Greek food. This is called Dao Chinese, and they're pretty good. Prawn crackers, sweet and sour chicken, egg fried rice, the whole lot. Big portions, bear that in mind. Next day was a bit of an admin day in terms of getting back, but in the morning, got up early for breakfast at the hotel, and I went for one last walk in the old town because I love walking along the boardwalk, along the water. Got some more photos, got a picture of their equivalent of the Alcatraz sort of prison, which you can take a boat to, I believe. Probably more in the summer, not sure in the winter. You can take a boat there and check it out, but I didn't do that this time. Do it next time. And I just walked around the old town, admiring the little streets, the little cobble streets, independent shops, trendy cafes. They got it all. It's fantastic. And because it's not summer, it wasn't that busy. So it's nice to walk up and down the streets. And then checked out my hotel, got in the car, and I drove up to the fortress of Palamidi, which is an absolute must in Nafplion. €4 entry again. No queue, straight in, and this is even higher than the castle, and this had even better views of the surrounding area. I just could not get over the views. I was there for 2 hours, just admiring the views, getting more photos. Just insane, sort of climbing above the fortress, which you can do, and it wasn't too busy with tourists, especially early doors, so we'd probably get there early if we want to avoid people, but a fantastic thing to do in Nafplion. From there, I was ready to take the car back to Athens, so I drove back through about 4 or 5 tolls. I lost count in the end. I think I forked out about €12 just getting back. So annoying, but you got to get used to that in the Greek roads, unfortunately. I got the car back, nice, safe and sound, and I got dropped off at the metro station at Acrocorinth. As I said before, get there if you can. It's cheaper. You don't pay €9. Go from Athens to Central. If you get to Acrocorinth, €1.20. You got to do that. So that's a bargain. So I was expecting to pay €9, only paid €1.20. That trade-off kind of paid for the tolls. And I made my way to the Airbnb in Athens, which is in the ammonia area of the metro station, which is kind of between that and Syntagma metro station, which is like the main bulk of like the slightly lesser square of Athens. Lots of shops there, very busy. Walked from there to my Airbnb, took 15 minutes. And I went for a Trendy coffee in the evening because I was gasping, to Thomas Speciality Coffee, right next door to my Airbnb. I loved it that much that I went back next morning. But if you want to know more about that cafe, that is next week's episode on the Trendy Coffee podcast. Check that out on YouTube and get following me if you like. You can subscribe today. I had an unbelievable cake there. Actually, no, 2 cakes. A chocolate tiffin and a caramel shortbread. Now, if you're from the UK, you know what they are. You cannot buy them, or I couldn't find them anywhere in Canada or anywhere else. And I could not believe that this guy was serving them to me. He spoke English. He used to live in London. We had a chat. Unbelievable coffee, unbelievable cakes. I couldn't believe it. Which meant next day, when I was checking out, I was going there for coffee and the same again. And I recorded my episode for that, for next week's coffee podcast. Thomas Speciality Coffee, you just have to go. Cute little cafe. Fit maybe 5 people in there. 9 to 10 people outside. Ice outside. And kind of watch the world go by. Dreamy. And then, I went to the airport to catch my flight to London. That was it for my Greece trip. And to summarise in a minute for Greece, unbelievable trip in terms of, in the winter, off-season, had great weather, never really below 15 degrees, so it's in between 15 and 20 degrees all the time. Hardly any tourists. The only tourists I really saw properly was at the Acropolis, at the Parthenon, in Athens for the first few days. But the locals were super friendly and super happy to see you, especially on Carpathos and Kassos, asking why am I there, what am I hoping to see, how can I help them, or how can they help me, swap numbers, details, really like offering to help you in case you need something. super, super hospitable, and I will never forget that. Met some great people. They want me to go back next year in the summer. Let's see. But things are available to do. Acropolis, Parthenon, renting a car in Carpathos Island, going to Nafplion, Fortress of Palamidi. Like, all these stuff is available to do without booking in advance, because there's no one going there in the off season. No queues. You turn up, you pay your fee, you go in, no one parley in there, you go and check it out. The risk is maybe things like the boat getting cancelled from Kassos to Carpathos. That would have really put me in a bit of a lumber, so you maybe need to be a bit more flexible in terms of things like that. And hire cars, cheap. Airbnbs, cheap. It's just a real easy way to get used to Greece, the way they do things, and it's a great introduction into maybe what could be a chaos summer if you go to some of the main islands in Greece or the main areas on the mainland. But I loved my trip, done a lot of walking, a lot of good eating, a lot of coffees, a lot of reading, a lot of sights, a lot of amazing views, and some traditional stuff like the village of Olympos and Carpathos was an absolute highlight. I got out of my comfort zone, got a car out, drove on my own, sampled the Greek drivers, which can be a bit crazy at times. So I would highly recommend you nip into Greece in the off season. I can't wait to go back. There's a plethora of stuff to see, so many islands, so many things you can see in Athens. It's just ridiculous. I've barely touched the surface, so I can't wait to get back. Had a brilliant trip. Thanks for tuning in to this episode and the series. Have a great Christmas, and of course, I'll see you on Monday. Cheers.